Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 in Croatia. His father was a priest and his mother worked the family's farm. Tesla's dad was also a writer and a poet, and his mother was very hardworking and quite the inventor herself. She created appliances to help things around the house and farm. He also had a brother and two sisters. In the year 1863, the Tesla family was struck with tragedy when Nikola's brother Dane died in a riding accident. This was his older brother, who was 12 at the time, and Nikola was 7. He looked up to his older brother and he felt as though his brother was more intelligent than he was. This would be one of many mental breakdowns that Nikola would experience in his lifetime. At a very young age, he was able to speak multiple languages and also showed fascination to mathematics and science. But his father disapproved and wanted him to enter priesthood, which would bring dread to the young Tesla. There was a time when Nikola's dad had to hide the candles because Nikola would stay up like all night, going into like the day, in order to read some of the books that was in there all the way up until the sun came up. Nikola felt as though he was oppressed due to his circumstances, and his obsession lay with being an engineer. Tesla would eventually develop a really bad gambling addiction, oftentimes losing all his money in card games. One time when he was at the peak of self-loathing from not having any money to gamble with, he turned to his mother and she gave him everything they had, knowing that Tesla was going to lose it all to gambling. He eventually did just that, which from that last gambling stint, he vowed to never do so again. He also would develop a similar habit with smoking as well. Fearing what the consequences from smoking and his health, he eventually stopped chiefing and gave that up too. When he was 17, Nikola had caught cholera, which ran rampant in the city that he was staying in at the time. In 1873, Tesla returned to Smingen. Shortly after he arrived, he was bedridden for like 9 months and he was near death multiple times. Nikola's dad promised his son that if he survived, he would be allowed to attend the renowned Austrian Polytechnic School at Graz to study engineering. At this new school, Nikola would start his work and studies at 3 a.m. until 11 p.m. without taking holidays and Sundays off. One day, his physics teacher showed Tesla's class a new Graham dynamo that, by employing direct current, could be used as both a motor and a generator. After watching it for some time, Tesla suggested it might be possible to do away with a set of inefficient sparking connections known as commutators. This, his amused professor said, would be like building a perpetual motion machine. Not even Tesla could hope to achieve such a feat. For the next several years, the challenge obsessed Tesla, who instinctively knew that the solution lay in electric currents that alternated. While working in Budapest, Nikola was walking with a friend in the park, and while doing so, he was gazing at the sun. Then it hit him. After 6 years of pondering a solution, he took a stick and drew it in the dirt. This was the invention of the induction motor, a technological advance that would soon change the world. Nikola was obsessed with benefiting from the power of nature, such as electricity. He came to New York City when he was 28 years old with 4 cents, a couple of drawings for inventions, and recommendation letter for Thomas Edison, who was the man at the time when it came to inventions. The fool was broke. When he got to New York, he was hella surprised at what he seen. He said, "What I had left was beautiful, artistic, fascinating in every way. What I saw here was machined, rough, and unattractive. It, America, is a century behind Europe and civilization." They began to work together, and quickly Tesla seen where Edison could improve on from him using direct currents. He was determined to replace that with alternating currents. Edison wasn't trying to hear that though. He was looking at this man like he was competition. But he ended up hiring Tesla to improve his DC generator plants. Tesla said Edison promised him $50,000 if he was able to do so. This man will work day and night to get this done, and he would rely heavily on his intuition and moments of inspiration to start perceiving the phases of his inventions with precision. He would soon get this done in a couple of months, and when he asked Edison to pay him, this man Edison straight laughed in this man's face. He told Tesla, "You become a full-fledged American, you will be able to appreciate an American joke." The disrespect. Tesla quit immediately. He started digging ditches to get by, barely making ends meet, saying, "My education in various branches of science, mechanics, and literature seemed to me like a mockery." Until word started getting out about the foreigner with unusual talent, and investors started coming to him to improve arc lighting at the time. Through this, he was able to start Tesla Electric Light Company. Unfortunately, he got disrespected once more because the group would earn all the money and all he got was stock certificates. Once he met Mr. A.K. Brown of the Western Union Company, he agreed to invest in Tesla's idea for an AC motor. Tesla said, "The motors I built there were exactly like I imagined them. I made no attempt to improve the design, but merely reproduced the pictures as they appeared to my vision, and the operation was always as I expected." But trying to introduce this commercially was a battle. Some dude in Pittsburgh named George Westinghouse, inventor of railroad air brakes, heard about Tesla's invention and thought it could be the missing link in long-distance power transmission. Around this time, Thomas Edison was on a mission to make this man look bad. Westinghouse recalled, "I remember Tom telling him that direct current was like a river flowing peacefully to the sea, while alternating current was like a torrent rushing violently over a precipice." Imagine that. Why, they even had a professor named Harold Brown who went around talking to audiences and electrocuting dogs and old horses right on stage to show how dangerous alternating currents was. Meanwhile, a murderer was about to be executed in the first electric chair at New York's Auburn State Prison. The shiesty Professor Brown had succeeded in illegally purchasing a used Westinghouse generator in order to demonstrate once and for all the extreme danger of alternating currents. The guinea pig was William Kimmler, a convicted ex-murderer who died horribly on August 6, 1890, in an awful spectacle for worse than hanging. The technique was later dubbed Westinghousing, but this didn't slow Tesla and Westinghouse down, and they eventually got the opportunity to light up the Chicago World Fair, which was a really big deal at the time. They ended up beating out GE, General Electric, due to the fact that at the time GE needed a lot of copper wire to get this done and the use of DC power. It was more efficient and cost effective to use the AC system. On May 1st, 1893, with 27 million people attending the World Fair, President Grover Cleveland pushed the button to light up 100,000 incandescent lamps, which showed the power of the AC system and the power of the future. As a kid, Nikola Tesla would talk to his uncle about being able to power the Niagara Falls using electricity. In 1895, Tesla designed one of the first AC hydroelectric power plants in the United States at the Niagara Falls. Doing this put Nikola Tesla on the world stage yet again, and this would push AC electricity as the world's power system. Westinghouse would soon buy out Tesla for $60,000 in stock and cash based off of how much electricity Westinghouse could sell. Westinghouse felt as though Tesla inventions was what he needed to beat out Edison's DC current. But ultimately, he would develop a fear of Edison and General Electric. Westinghouse was scared of losing it all to his competition, so he pleaded with Tesla to relieve him of his royalties, which Tesla felt great gratitude for the man that always did him just. By walking away from this and literally tearing up his contract, this denied him of his royalties, which he was owed, and this would have made him one of the richest men in the world. On March 15th, 1895, in early morning hours, a New York City building caught fire, which housed Tesla's lab. This fire destroyed a bunch of his research, experiments, and equipment that was unreachable. This sent Tesla into a deep depression because this set him back. Tesla would go on to discover the power of X-rays and create the Tesla coil, which was used to produce high voltage, low current, high frequency alternating current electricity. He would also dedicate a huge amount of time to learn, understand, and harness wireless power. This man 100 plus years ago was thinking in the realm of something that was not in common knowledge for his time. Methods of communications was through mail and Morse code. Now we use the power of wireless connection to use our phones, TVs, and our computers. This kind of thinking was something that pushed society forward and pushed the brain behind a lot of these discoveries to the wayside and ultimately forgotten about. By the time of 1912, when Tesla was 56, he began to start losing his mind. He will also start to lose hope in humanity, which drove him into isolation, where he solely focused on his work and cleanliness. These obsessions were so bad that he would do any and all acts revolving around the number 3 and numbers divisible by 3, feeling as though 369 was associated with enlightenment, the power of nature, and the essence of God. He would shake people's hands and watch them in sets of threes, walk around the block 3 times before walking into a building, and even going as far as using 18 napkins for using his dishes to clean, always. He claimed to be hyperly sensitive to sounds and sights, which almost threw him into a fit. And women were fond of him, but Tesla was very introverted and didn't engage in relationships, leaving behind no children. He would spend his later years bouncing from hotel to hotel because of evictions and not being financially stable. He would be fascinated with pigeons that he would take care of and took a liking to one pigeon in particular. Tesla said, "I have been feeding pigeons, thousands of them, for years. But there was one, a beautiful bird, pure white with light gray tips on its wings, that was very, very different. It was a female. I had only to wish and call her, and she would come flying to me. I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life. It was all downhill from there." He was hit by a taxi cab at the age of 81 and suffered from 3 broken ribs and also messed his back up pretty bad. He refused to see a doctor and decided that he was going to thug it out and never fully recovered from this accident. On January 7th, 1943, Nikola Tesla was found dead at the age of 86 in his hotel, with the room number being 3327. 5 days later, a funeral service was held for him in Manhattan, which 2,000 people attended. Tesla was able to obtain 300 patents across the world for his inventions. Some he wouldn't even get credit for. He worked tirelessly his whole entire life, working off of 2 hours of sleep any given day. He was a very likable person in the eyes of the public and was said to be very wise and charming. By observing nature, he was obsessed with harnessing that power and being able to help connect others all across the world instantly. He was not only an engineer but a philosopher as well, believing that the discoveries that he made all is a result of things that was and always will be. And how do we use that to the best of our ability? He experienced a great deal of loss and overcame really difficult adversities while being one of the greatest minds to have ever lived. We may not have it all figured out, but we are uniquely made to solve a problem that is meant to further society in a positive way, in spite of the negative aspects. I hope you all enjoyed this, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Let me know some of the people you would like to hear about in the comment section. Serve your purpose.